Susan Whittington fell in love with horses early on. It's fitting, because whether it was her work to help those trying to get on their feet, working to expose more and more of our residents to the arts, or her work to bring economic growth to Northwest North Carolina, Susan Whittington has put the needs on her back and plowed forward.
Susan has a way of being that commands and inspires respect. As a servant leader, she shares many of the same general traits and qualities of former and present inductees. She's trustworthy, she's ethical, she's authentic, she has good communication skills, trustworthy, and these, I think, are all the kinds of qualities that we want in our leaders, and we want as role models to both adults and young people in Wilkes County today.
The amazing thing about Susan is she is always able to see the big picture. She looks at how can we do systemic change? How can we do something beyond the little details, the things that make something work? What is the bigger picture? What can we do to help the whole community?
She has a heart for people that's really different from what you normally see. There really is no judgment.
She's not a person that tries to convince you of her deep beliefs by what she says, but rather by who she is, by what she does. She's a living example of what it means to care for other people, not just with our voice, but with our actions and with our life.
In the terms of commitment, Susan's the kind of person that when you sit around a table and you identify something that needs to be done, and she accepts that and commits to it. She's the kind of person that you don't want to get in her way. Get out of the way, let her do her thing. With her collaboration skills, with her various connections, she will make it happen.
We worked together from the beginning to bring the Circles program in Wilkes. It helped us to see there was a solution to poverty. And that, a lot of people say, well, poverty will always be with us. But we were looking for a solution. She wanted to make sure that the residents of the shelter who were experiencing homelessness had an opportunity to take advantage of that program. So when they got back on their feet, they had some resources that were beyond cash. Resources that would help them with their life, with succeeding and moving forward. She's been very dedicated to just meeting food and basic needs for people. And I watched her dedication when no one came. She stayed. She stayed and she was present until a program was in place long enough to where gradually people built trust and they started to come. And it takes time. There's people that have been abandoned and have not been known or looked at for years. They don't often come forward, but she stays present until they do.
Susan can see the value of being a servant, having a servant heart, being aware of little kindnesses that can go a long way, and just making a positive step in someone else's life. There are so many things that we all can do, and I think it all stems from that servant's heart. If you feel that we are all in this world together and that everything we do impacts everyone else, do you want to make a positive ripple or a negative ripple? And I think that most would choose the positive. They think it's too hard, but it's not. And Susan is an example of how that is not too difficult to do.
Susan Whittington is a believer in education, a graduate of both UNC Greensboro and Wake Forest. She supports UNCG in numerous ways, both financially and through her works. She's also a longtime supporter of Wilkes Community College. For her resume of helping others, we welcome Susan Whittington into the Wilkes County Hall of Fame.
last one, and they said to keep you here until at least 10:15. So, well, thank you. Tonight has been it's interesting. Jay Anderson introduced me to art. He introduced me to classical music. He introduced me to poetry. He spent many hours with me and James Larkin Pearson, just teaching me how to be. When I went to college, I got a letter most every week from Jay and from Mr. Pearson. Do you think I kept any of them? No, but they were important at the time. Pete Mann was a lifelong friend. And boy, could he teach the gospel. I had the privilege of being with him in his last moments. A privilege that I thank you for. My life has been blessed to be full of family and friends who've inspired me and have supported me and who have lived lives that I want to emulate. My grandparents, many of you knew them, Odell and Edna, up in Wilbar. They wanted the community to be better. That's all they wanted. Kathy McLean tells me that she remembers when she was a little girl, she was raised by her grandmother, and they would go and visit with my grandparents, and that she'll never forget it because my grandmother treated her grandmother, like a lady. And she always had lemonade and cookies, and she accepted them into their house, just like they were one of the family. And that's how I was raised. Everybody was one of the family. My parents and my dear aunts were always there for me. My mother said she never understood me, but that she truly loved me. Every organization I've been involved in, and if you read that, as I've been a lot of them, there was always a person who was there to help me grow the vision. As Gretchen said, I've never been attentive to details. But Gretchen did it with circles. Gretchen and Greta did it with circles, Wilkes Circles of Care, and made that happen. And Glenda Andrews made it happen with the Rainbow Center for Children. And back in the college days, in my association with the Alumni Association at UNCG, Barbara Parrish says when I was a freshman, I walked in the Alumni House and I said, looks like y'all could need some help here. And I started then and stayed on as a member of the Board of Trustees at the college for a number of years. When I came back to town, Martha Nichols, then, Martha Barksdale, came and said, art gallery could use some help. Okie dokie. So right up I went. Martha helped lead the charge to move the art gallery from the little building on Highway 115 to the old radio station. To get a Reynolds grant to put in the system for the appropriate humidity and air conditioning and lighting in the Wilkes Art Gallery. There beside, together, that was done. Jane Rogers at the Wilkes Chamber of Commerce. That's somebody we don't need to forget. When I went to her one day and I said, you know, down in the eastern part of the state, they've got this Highway 17 project. And all the counties came together, and now it's 4-laned. We can do that with 421. And she said, you think? And I said, sure we can. All we got to do is get all the politicians and every chamber of commerce in 7 counties to come together and agree that that's their priority and that they're willing to make their smaller projects in the road world less and take all those funds. And then people from Holly Farms flew us to Raleigh, and we met with the DOT. But the trick was, we invited them to Boone for their one out of Raleigh meeting that year. And guess what? It was a football weekend. And the response was they never knew there was that much traffic and that many curves on any highway in the state of North Carolina. And from that point, it moved forward. But the 7 counties came together. They actually talked to each other. Democrats and Republicans and whatever, they talked to each other. Porter Taylor, the bishop in the Diocese of Western North Carolina, supported me greatly in my journey and discernment. And Gordon, you know how special you are. State of North Carolina tried to steal Gordon Burns from us when he was president of community college. And we walked around that campus a lot. And we were blessed to keep you. Thank you. As y'all read through the variety of projects and interests that I have, it seems as though there's no continuity. I hadn't thought about all this until I had to pull all this 50 years of stuff. I'm old. 50 years of stuff together for the nomination when I was told. But there is a common thread. And I want to share that with you because I think it's important, not about me, but about those who come after us and those who are here in this room. There was a book in my life that was very important, and the author is Parker Palmer. And the name of the book is Let Your Life Speak. And there's an important question. And the question is the life I am living the same life you want to live in me? That God has put you here for? Are you living into your vocation? The reason God put you on earth? Living your vocation doesn't mean the job or what setting you find yourself in. It springs from the very gut. It springs from your heart. I believe my vocation has been to find a solution when there are barriers that keep people from growing, when there are barriers that keep areas from growing, is to help those who have no voice or those who are being downtrodden by people or who are held back by the systems. My vocation is a thread that has helped me transition from one need to another, whether it was in Greensboro, or whether it was in Wilkes County, or whether it was in Western North Carolina. What is your vocation? What is the common thread that helps you move from one place and one activity in life? Beatner calls this a place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. I encourage you each to step out of your comfort zone. I've been out of it a whole lot. And in every situation, discern what is the best way that I can help? What talents can I bring here? As I've gotten older, I recognize, I've been told on a number of occasions, that it is not all one person doing it by themselves. You're sent out 2 by 2. It takes partners in every activity to do it. How can I help? Has always been my question. What role can I play? Aging has helped me see that the way I did things in the 30s is not quite nearly as attractive in my 60s or in that next decade, which I am in. I've worked hard alongside great people, and I've had much fun along the way. My horses and my dogs and my farm and my friends and my travels. Some of those pictures you saw were from Australia and from Bermuda and different places. My friend that traveled to Australia is sitting here with me, and on my phone is her picture with her koala. I've met wonderful friends in my job and in all my volunteer activities who continue to be a part of my life today. It is a time of transition in my life, and I'm just really excited to see what kind of challenges and joy I will encounter along the way of these next 70 years.